Welcome to Leadership on the Links, the podcast that showcases innovators in golf course management and the issues they face. I'm your host, Tyler Bloom. In Leadership on the Links, you hear the stories of people shaping the industry from their first swing to their dream match. You feel like you're on the course playing with your most inspiring colleagues, having great conversations, digging into insights and sharing a few laughs. Our industry is changing. As a leader, you need to keep up on everything from trends to technology to best practices. Together, we'll continue to build world-class clubs and teams. Let's get to it. Enjoy. Welcome back, or welcome to Leadership on the Links. Today, I'm joined by Karlo Gesner, a standout photographer whose work captures the character, leadership, and personality of businesses and individuals. Karlo has built his reputation on location, working with teams and executives to deliver a variety of different imagery and moments. We talk about his first introduction into the golf industry through his dear friend, Josh Saunders, director of golf course and grounds at Lancaster Country Club, all the way through his first on-site videography during the 2024 U.S. Women's Open. And Karlo gives some really good examples of how individual superintendents, club leaders can level up their photography, their imagery, and how to tell their story. And we also dive into our recent in-person interview where Karlo captured our team in some really fun moments. Thanks for joining us on today's episode. Sometimes I find in our lives, we meet people through some interesting referrals in different ways and crossroads in our lives. So I'll tell you this story. This is about, a little over a year ago or so. One of the themes that we find on the recruiting front when we work with employers, especially as we're trying to market the position, is the pure lack of quality photos and websites that clubs have. And fast track this to about, 3 months ago, maybe it was 2 months, I'm not quite sure, but I remember seeing some videography for the 2024 U.S. Women's Open at Lancaster Country Club and some photos around that. And I called a good friend, Josh Saunders, who's the director of golf courses and grounds at Lancaster Country Club, and said, who's the gentleman that did, or individual that did your photography and videography? And hence here we are today. Karlo Gesner is joining us on the podcast to talk a little bit about photography, a little bit about his career journey, and also a recent project he did with our team at Balloon Golf Partners. So Karlo, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, absolutely, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, so I always like to ask this question. Tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of your career journey over the last, 15, 20 years.
Oh man, where do I begin? We'll start in high school. Long story short, I've always been fascinated by photography, always been fascinated by cameras. It was one of those things that when I was younger, my parents were always just kind of like, that's a very expensive hobby and we don't really see you making a career out of it. I ended up going to engineering school. I was still very involved with the arts in general, just in my free time. And then, like most photographers, I started out as a wedding photographer. It's really funny because when I tell people that I'm a photographer, the number one question that I get is, oh, so you do weddings? And I was like, yeah, I did weddings for 10 years, built my business on that. And then at a certain point, I started using lighting in my photography, which really separated me from the rest. Number one, whenever you're in a tough situation, you start using lighting. It basically enhances everything about it. You can overcome natural light challenges, that type of thing. I made that was my first business, owning a business as a wedding photographer. And then when my daughter was born, I figured I couldn't give 25 to 30 nights and weekends away a year. So I moved more into Monday through Friday commercial photography. I worked for a marketing agency, got a wealth of experience there. I'd be photographing the mayor at like 10 in the morning, and then I'd be photographing a shrimp and avocado salad at noon, and then photographing a dog on the back of a Vespa for an optometrist. The dog would be wearing glasses, and shooting that at the end of the day. So I was like stacked. I got this wealth of experience. I left that job in 2021 post-pandemic, and I picked up golf around the same time. And the thing about golf is that just like with the camera, it's like once you get that first good shot, you're like hooked and obsessed with the idea of recreating that. So I'm a big fan of combining the things that I love with the things that I do in my career. And that led to Golf Club Visuals, which is the entity that I have now, putting myself out there to private clubs and public clubs across the country.
So how did you really kind of first get involved in the golf industry? You know, working at Lancaster. I mean, did it just come from Josh, like in your friendship there?
Yeah, that was the first opportunity I had to work in the golf industry, and it's really funny because I was very much a newbie when it came to the golf in the region in Lancaster, Central PA area, and I knew Lancaster Country Club was prestigious, but I did not realize how prestigious it was.
Mm.
And Josh was mentioning to me, we're old college buddies, and he said to me, hey, I've got this women's open coming up next year, would you like to do some social media for it? And I was like, sure, I'm open to it. And then in my mind, I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to have an iPhone on a gimbal, running around capturing footage, and I'll have my drone. So, we worked out a price and a deal and all that type of stuff that went through. And then during advance week, we're out there with an iPhone on a gimbal in our drone. And I'm noticing, wait a second, at this point, we were starting at like 5, 6 in the morning just before sunrise. And the drone footage was absolutely epic. It was very cinematic. It was gorgeous, put some nice music to it. And it was breathtaking. I absolutely loved it. And then you've got this iPhone footage in the dark that just didn't match up with the quality that the golf course itself produced and the drone produced. So I just made a call on the spot. I said, we're going big camera on this. And from that point forward, that kind of launched us into the Women's US Open coverage.
Man, that's a pretty good one to pick up. Just this little goat track and this little, small tournament that's coming to town.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard about it. Again, I was newer to golf. I knew I had come to Lancaster, I think a couple years before that, and I knew it was a big deal. But for some reason, it just didn't click with me how big it was. The first days that we were out there during advance week, and I'm noticing all the like radio frequency towers going up for national broadcast. I'm seeing just everything that's going into it, building the bandstands. Like once I was on site and witnessing it, I was like, okay, this might be one of the biggest jobs I've ever done. And the interesting thing is that all the coverage was about the grounds crew. They're like the unsung heroes of the golf course. And I think Josh's crew went from maybe 15 to like 80 people in the course of a few months. And, that in itself was, that was just a testament to how big this thing really was.
So, and again, maybe I misread this or misheard this. Was this the first golf course you ever shot photography and video for?
No, technically the first golf course I ever shot was a little par 3 course by my mom's house in Deep Creek Lake in Western Maryland. Just goofing around. But this was my first golf industry job, was the 24 USGA Women's US Open.
Yeah, way to shoot your shot, man. If you could go back and like now having some experience, like, is there anything you would change about how you approach that week, or, what were some things that you learned, on your side of it?
I don't think there would have necessarily been a change in approach because, this is where the wedding experience comes in handy. A lot of times people look at wedding photographers and they're like, oh, I know a wedding photographer. I know a wedding photographer. My cousin's a wedding photographer, that type of thing. They're everywhere. But the great thing about wedding photography is you're really challenged to basically solve problems, challenges, issues in the moment, not break a sweat, keep that smile on your face, and keep things moving. So that has really inspired the skill in me to be creative in the moment. Not only as a problem solver, but I'm the type of thinker, I think visually, So a lot of times when I'm having a conversation with somebody and they're describing something to me, I'll get these little daydreams in my head of what that would look like on footage. And when you're in the moment and you're on the course, and there's no practice, there's no run through, the fairway mowers are coming down number 9 at 4 o'clock in the morning in the pitch black. You've got a drone in your hand and you're like, okay, let's send this puppy up there and see what happens. Let's see what we can get out of this. And that in itself was that was a pretty amazing moment. We're flying drones in the pitch black, 4 o'clock in the morning, but the resulting footage is these lights of the fairway mowers just kind of dancing down the fairway in formation. And I was like, for some odd reason, it reminded me of like Fantasia, like the old Disney movie. No dialogue, just music and movement.
Yeah.
And that in itself, I thought was really super cool. Yeah, go ahead.
What I was going to say is, what did you learn about just the golf course maintenance agronomy side? Because I mean, I'm certain you knew at least a little bit, having been friends with Josh. But for the average person that had no idea what you were probably stepping into to a degree, what did you learn?
Wow. I mean, a little backstory on that. Josh, we went to Virginia Tech together. I was in the engineering program and he was in agronomy, and Josh was one of those guys that the moment that he set foot at Virginia Tech, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to grow grass, and learn everything possible about it. And I was a little jealous because I was in the engineering program. Obviously, I'm not like a certified engineer at this point, so I was still finding my way. And then when I got to Lancaster Country Club, and you're greeted by all these John Deere and Toro heavy machinery, like a fleet of them. You've got, especially on tournament days, you've got a team of 8 people raking the bunkers. You've got people hand filling divots at the end of every single round. And I was like, this is the pursuit of perfection, in a way that I have seldom seen before. It's like being a Michelin star chef, right? They're using tweezers to put the little piece of microgreens on the plate. And Josh is doing the same thing with, I don't know how many acres, but a huge golf course that's what they're putting into it.
Hi folks, Mitch Rupert here from Bloom Golf Partners. Before we get back to today's conversation, I have a quick message for club leaders listening in. If you're struggling with operational inefficiencies, or if you're frustrated by misaligned member experiences, or maybe you're battling the challenge of hiring and keeping top talent, maybe it's time to book a free talent strategy call with us at Bloom Golf Partners. In just a few minutes of your time, we can help you gain clarity and diagnose the biggest challenges you're facing and provide tailored advice to help your club thrive. We can help you to get to smooth, aligned operations, which lead to a club culture that delights and retains members. Book your free talent strategy call today with a member of our team by visiting bloomgolfpartners.com. Now enjoy the rest of the episode.
It's amazing. I love hearing that story of like how you saw those attention to detail, because that's really what separates great clubs from the average. Obviously, tournament week, they're getting amplified with volunteers and things of that nature, right? So every little detail is getting double checked, fine detailed. And I'm curious, like in some of the imagery that you took, I'm sure you found some really fascinating, like little details, like just beyond like what the observant eye is, just like from some of the captions and things you captured. Anything stick out to you?
It was funny because like I'm a pretty social guy, right? And that's really important when you're doing photo and video, because whoever you're photographing or videoing, you want to make them feel comfortable. There's that old cliche, hey, pretend I'm not here, yada, yada, yada. Well, that doesn't work because I am here and I'm pointing a camera at you,
Mm-hmm.
So the only way to make the camera disappear is by forming a relationship with the person that you're filming or photographing. So, I mean, the thing that really stuck out to me is I'm on the 18th green. We're still in advance week, like pre-round prep, and there's some members of the USGA out there. And, here comes Karlo. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, having a good morning today, yada, yada, yada. And these guys were like the men in black.
Mm.
They were there to do a job. And, the one individual I talked to was he was friendly enough to entertain my small talk, but also at the same time, he's got his, as like a $10,000 stim golf ball reader measuring the speed of the greens. And once I discovered that, I was like, okay, like here's another element about like how huge and important this event is and how much they put into it. So yeah, I mean, that really stuck out to me as far as yeah, this thing is way bigger than I thought that it originally was.
When you saw the people that come there, like actually the spectators and things of that nature, and just I would like to call it the circus around, the actual playing surface, anything stand out to you, from your experience in that?
I mean, it's so funny because like I think a lot of people, especially people that don't play golf, they think golf is kind of this staunch, like buttoned up sport.
Yeah.
But it felt like a festival.
Yeah.
People are wearing their golf shoes on the course as spectators. People are rocking Bad Birdie shirts and just dressing to the nines. And the diversity of the crowd's amazing. Everyone from, you had volunteers that were in their 70s and their 80s that were out there holding, quiet signs and directing, civilian traffic, for lack of a better term. But they, I mean, the whole atmosphere was just excitement and appreciation, especially in Lancaster, where it was happening right in our hometown. I mean, the buzz was not just on the course. The buzz was in the bars. The buzz was in the restaurants. The buzz was in the hotels. You could just feel it everywhere.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing I appreciate when Lancaster has hosted a couple of these key events, the community really gets behind it. And, you'd think that maybe in a major metro market, Lancaster, it's not Philadelphia, it's not necessarily Pittsburgh, but it's still a really, nice sized city. And is really cool to kind of just see like sort of a grassroots approach, not only at the club level, but within the community. And ironically, one of my teammates you met, Ryan, he lives literally right across the street from the club. So he had a good experience himself getting to walk over there and see the tournament or the championship. Another couple questions for you on the event. When you're doing what you do, there's a lot of different moving parts and things that you can capture. What was sort of the story you were trying to capture, during that week? Because there's other, many of our listeners, some of our guests, they go to events, they're hosting events, right? So when they're thinking about using a videographer or a photographer, what are some of the things that you try to focus on in the story you try to tell?
Well, it's funny because, the product that we ended up delivering ended up being a small documentary about the grounds crew. And, keep in mind, they wanted us to, hey, we'd like some reels for social. We delivered a 7.5 minute behind the scenes video on exactly what goes into, the spirit of what they do. And I mean, as far as I'm sorry, I got lost in the question there. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like what are things that, if you were now coaching a host site that's going to use a videographer, a photographer, what are some key elements that you would, guide them on or advise them on?
Oh, definitely. I think a lot of times, especially with planners, they have a very definitive idea of what they want you to capture. And they have a definitive idea of what the story is going to be. And the fact of the matter is that doesn't come to fruition until it comes to fruition. And it kind of reveals itself before your eyes. So originally, that documentary is supposed to be a gratitude piece. Because at the end of the day, it's like, Josh's words were so amazing because this has been his dream since he was like in elementary school, to host a major event. So you could just feel it when you're around Josh. He would be in go mode and stuff like that. But then also when he would be speaking to the volunteers, I truly got a chance to witness his leadership on site. So I think, as far as whenever you're working with a photographer or videographer, you had to give them some freedom and some creative liberty to tell the story that's being revealed right in front of them. Mm-hmm. Okay. So there's a funny statement when it comes to taking someone's portrait. Okay. The idea is not to exhibit the individual, but to reveal a little bit about them. Okay. And now you're working with video, something is being revealed over the course of 4 days, and you have to give the photographer, videographer the liberty to kind of pursue that story that's really developing. So, I mean, as far as the gratitude piece, I mean, I was running around on day 4. It was my last day of filming. And I'm asking, as many volunteers as I possibly could to just look into the mic and say a thank you to Josh, or thank you for the experience, some kind of gratitude. And then the hook at the end was this really dramatic shot of Josh on 12, the famous number 12 where Nelly Corda, we won't talk about it, but you know what happened with Nelly Corda on 12. But yeah, the last shot of the video was supposed to be Josh, on number 12 on the green, just turning to the camera and saying, no, thank you. And that was supposed to be the ending. And then, after I'm done filming, I put all my cameras away. I'm on 18 and we're watching, what was her name? The Japanese player that won the tournament. I want to say Sako. I'm probably wrong, but I'm on the 18th bandstand watching the award ceremony. The USGA comes out and they bring the trophy out, and I watch Josh receive the E.G. Marshall platter for elite golf course maintenance, and I'm like, this is the ending of the video.
Yeah, mic drop moment.
Mic drop moment. And I have no gear in my hand. So my heart was swelling for Josh, but my heart was also palpitating because I didn't have any gear to capture this moment. So in the 11th hour, I'm talking to Josh and I'm like, hey, this is the ending of the video. Everything that went into it. I got to get this footage from USGA and we got to get approval for this, the televised footage. Because that's not like, I'm very, very mindful of permissions. Okay. I'm not one of those types of videographers just going to be like, oh, you want like Slow Ride by Foghat on your video? Let's grab that and put it on there. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. It's going to run into problems eventually. And I'm sure everyone's seen it when they post something like that to Facebook, like all these exclamation notifications come up. So we got I asked Josh, get permission from USGA. We got the footage. We incorporated that in the ending of the video. And that's why, like, when you're planning a photo shoot or a video shoot, you had to leave some leeway for what's about to happen, so that's that would be my advice. Just, give the artist, give the photographer, videographer some freedom of interpretation and turning that into, what you're looking for or something you didn't know you wanted.
Yeah, I was thinking that there's a lot of organicness in those interactions throughout there that you go into it probably with a mindset. And you get into the job and realize that there's other cool moments that you weren't really predicting or planning. And again, kind of circling back to my opening comment to the show was when we work with clubs, I'm surprised at how little they have invested into photography. And I don't think it's this, massive undertaking, but, number one, to try to sell your club to members to generate revenue, whether it's, as well for events, weddings, whatever the case, outings might be. And the simple thing of having like a good photos and aerial photos of the property, the clubhouse, the pool, tennis rackets, fitness, whatever. I'm amazed that most clubs don't invest in that. And then on our side, on the recruiting perspective, most people don't know what it's like working at a golf course. They have no concept. They may not even know where their nearest golf course is, right? So as an employer and as a business, being able to share that, those images and those moments, I think is a very underutilized tool, and just kind of want to get your thoughts on that as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, we live in a visual world and it's all right here, gosh, it's I'm an older guy. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm an 80s baby type of thing. And then there's, Gary Vaynerchuk, for anybody who listens to him, he always says, you had the radio and then you had the television. And now the television is the radio and the phone is the television, content's being consumed so quickly. And that's one of my goals is like, I want to load up the marketing library. I want to make sure you're good for 3 to 6 months of what you're looking for. So, visually, it's one of those things that, to an extent, you can get away with, maybe like an intern or, someone that's starting out in marketing, membership, and communications for a club that can get stuff on site using their phone, making reels and things like that. But if you're really trying to draw membership, and it's a premier club, it's definitely very important that your visuals, your photography, your drone photography and video, that they all match the quality of the club that you have, because it's a snapshot. I mean, it's a photo or a video is a digital first impression, as far as I'm concerned. And, these days it's not everyone. I mean, really the whole thing is that your website is intended to inspire people to hit that contact button. Mm-hmm. And the visuals, the photography, the copy on the website, the way that you tell your club story is going to make the difference between someone hitting contact and someone hitting contact somewhere else.
So you made a comment in there that I caught. You said about, you're developing materials for 3 to 6 months. How often should, whether it's a business, a club, update their visuals from your perspective?
I mean, there's kind of different levels of it. I've seen some websites out there for private clubs that are, pretty dated. Yeah. I'm waiting for the animated GIF to come out of the corner. You know what I mean? It says, "Hey, click here," that type of thing.
They opened that did.
What's that?
The last time they updated their website is when the internet actually was developed.
Yeah. We've come a long way, so, and, if you think about it like a picture, like at a museum or something like that, your website is the frame. Mm-hmm. You can have the same picture in an 8x10 and a frame from Michael's, or you can have that same picture blown up on a 30x40 canvas with like a gold elegant frame or something like that. And it's the same picture, but it's going to be interpreted or presented completely differently. So, I mean, definitely the website update is super important. Along with that, it's going to become the visual assets, the photography, primarily to start, to get that website set up so it matches the quality of your website. You have your standard assets, your about me page, who's our leadership team. Headshots are great for those. I love doing environmental portraits as well, which is what we did with you guys over there at Hershey. So we kind of hit it on both ends. But also at the same time, like, I feel like, you got to show off the course too. And, back in the day, you had to hire a helicopter pilot and a photographer to go out there and shoot the course. And now with drones, you can send somebody up there and they'll have the whole thing captured in 2 to 3 hours. So yeah, it's one of those things that, and the cost of that has gone down because of drones. Hiring a helicopter pilot and airplane fuel and all that type of stuff used to be very expensive, and now it's very accessible. It's very affordable. And then in websites, you don't necessarily, as far as drone video goes, you don't necessarily need to do a full-blown club story with drone video. Mm-hmm. You can have a banner at the top of your website that just shows, 15 seconds of drone footage on a loop. And it's eye candy for the person that's engaging with your website, that's visiting your website. So, yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's like, you have kind of like your core package. Let's get course footage, course photography. Let's get headshots from leadership. Let's make sure to show off the amenities, as far as racket sports, maybe spa and wellness. Definitely the food. You want to show off the food, which is something that I do as well. Like I'm definitely a pretty well-versed food photographer. That's definitely in my portfolio. And show off the staff. I'm not gonna lie. When I came into the country club scene, I kind of had this little bit of a buffer and I'm sure people are aware of the common stereotype that it was kind of like, okay, this place is exclusive. It's going to be very buttoned up. There might be this factor of like, I had my own paranoid fears. Am I going to be alienated? Am I going to be good enough? And all that type of stuff. And I have met so many country club staff members that just make you feel like you're at home, and that to me is like the spirit of the club, that these folks that are, working in food service or bag boys, caddies, that type of thing, their interaction with the membership and potential members is something that really needs to be told and shown. because at the end of the day, people make their buying decisions with emotions and feeling.
Yeah.
And if you can convert that over to your website and your socials and things like that, then that's a huge win.
All right. So I'm starting out as a photographer, videographer. What are the 3 tools that you need to have to get started?
Starting out as a photographer, videographer. I mean, it's funny because everybody has a camera in their pocket at all times. And, I think the thing that separates photographers and videographers from, people that are doing as hobbyists is like the level of detail that goes into editing, really making it pop. So I would highly suggest getting, an Adobe Lightroom subscription or something like that. And it's cheap. It's like $10 a month to have Lightroom and Photoshop available to you. I mean, as far as lighting and things like that, if you're starting out doing golf course photography, you're going to be doing a lot of on-course stuff. You're going to be doing a lot of member events and socials. People skills is huge, So I think that would probably be the second asset that you would want to lean into. How to make friends and influence people.
Staple. Man, that's like a staple in pretty much every business is that book.
Oh yeah. If you want to gather honey, you'll do a better job with I think it's with sugar than with vinegar.
Yeah.
The statement is if you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. So it's like little things like that. A lot of things that I focus on personally is meet people where they're at. I used to be the type of, especially when I was young and really ambitious with starting a business, I'd talk all about myself. This is me. This is how great I am. And you should hire me, and it just doesn't work. You just got to connect with people on a person to person basis, and they'll ask you questions, and then just answer them the best you can whenever they ask. And then I think, the third thing definitely with golf courses is a drone. Got to have a drone. They're not readily accessible because DJI and the whole China thing, is kind of made their inventory limited. But you can still get a great DJI drone, like on Marketplace or something like that. And with that drone, you need to get a pilot's license. Super, super, super important. There's a lot of drone pilots out there that are not licensed. And okay,
you're talking to one.
Yeah, it's kudos to diving into it and playing with it. But at the end of the day, in the licensing process, one of the things that really stuck out to me is it says if you cause more than $500 worth of damage, say your drone crashes into a nice vehicle in the parking lot, or God forbid runs into somebody or something like that, if you cause more than $500 worth of damage, the FAA will be involved. You will get an email, a phone call, or they'll knock on your door and they will investigate it because drones are mandated by the Aviation Administration. That can lead, if somebody hires, like a private club hires an unlicensed drone operator and the FAA does get involved and there is an incident, the club can face up to $10,000 worth of fines from the FAA. So super important. When I'm flying a drone, the result is all this beautiful, elegant footage, but my big thing is safety. There's electrical lines, there's tree branches, all different kinds of things that could cause an incident. And it's the last thing you want to think about, but it's also the first thing you want to think about before you even get that drone up in the air.
This is shifting gears a little bit. So you had a chance to meet with our team. So we solicited Karlo's expertise in photography under the gentle nudge of both Mary and Meredith on my team. I think they were sick of seeing some AI portraits being developed and said, let's get something legit. And I appreciate their persistence on this. But you had a chance to meet with our team, and I always am curious, fascinated, and listen, don't blow smoke because you're on the episode here, but what did you learn about the Bloom Golf Partners team? Because you really didn't have too much interaction prior to, outside of some emails, maybe a couple Zooms, right? And I think it's important because a lot of people may know who I am from the industry, but they don't know the team yet. They're getting to learn the team. But what did you learn about our team?
I'm a big proponent of workforce culture. Okay. We've all been in jobs where they're trying to get all the juice out of the lemon, as much out of the employee as possible. And when they can't get any more juice out of the lemon, they get a new lemon, and I've had jobs like that, and it's, you feel like a commodity, that type of thing. And, I had a previous job where we did go to workforce culture, a coach, that talked to us about that. And, the thing I learned about Bloom Golf Partners is that, there's obviously serious moments where you guys are discussing projects, you're discussing what's the next step, you're discussing strategy, fantastic elements in a business. But there are also really great moments when you guys are just having fun and telling stories and being transparent. I think the shots when we were sitting at the table, the first few shots that we did, I just told you guys, hey, just talk about anything. I just want you guys to be connecting with each other. You can talk about work projects. You can talk about what you did last weekend. And, I don't know if you noticed, but I overheard some like old stories, and there was a comfort in that. It was kind of like, that sitting around the campfire type of moment where people are being open and connecting and bonding and feeling safe. And like, that's a testament to your organization, that people can kind of come out and be themselves truly, and feel safe doing so. And it's not, it's not looked at as like, oh, did you hear that story about so-and-so? It's more so like, oh my gosh, like this is, a real human being that can be themselves that I'm happy to have on my team. So, all the vibes are great. And I hope so. I hope they translated into the photography, getting genuine expressions and, doing that thing about revealing people a little bit as opposed to, putting them on display.
Yeah, we had a blast, man. It's always interesting, so the dynamics are three guys, two females that were there. And I think from the guy's perspective, having never done something like that, super probably uncomfortable. Backstory, about a little over a year ago, I went and got a personal styling session, which is crazy that even came out of my mouth. But I had a personal styling session from some friends that I met through an entrepreneur group. It was the most awkward thing I've ever been a part of, but I had so much fun, in a weird way, almost childlike, which sounds kind of crazy to talk about. And so that kind of came to the surface here again in the photography shoot, and very organic, nothing forced, at least from my viewpoint. And I think our team really had a great time, and I hope a sense of pride for them too. Like they get to share in the success of the company. And the comments you made about a family, like that is really important to me. I mean, I spend as much time with them, even though we're in a remote setting, talking about things not just in the work front, but also life. And, I think that's an important principle of like what we're trying to create. And I think really that stems from the kind of people I worked for, and creating that environment where people take their work really seriously and have a tremendous amount of pride, but on the same token, like can break bread, have fun, have some laughs. I have been the punching bag for many of my coworkers that are listening on many fronts. So, just try to have a good time and, take yourself seriously, but not too seriously.
Yeah. I mean, did you see the Afro photo that I put in the gallery?
I did see that did come through, which was really funny. We spotted that. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, Marion, Meredith, and I were on a group text, and we were just keeping tabs on the delivery of the photos. And a joke came up about, we can put an afro on Tyler, and I was like, yes, I can put an afro on Tyler. So I went ahead and did that. And I love the fact that you guys are the type of organization that can laugh at something like that, and it adds value.
Oh, dude, like I said, I'm the punching bag for a lot of jokes, so it's all good. It's part of my DNA. But one thing that I think would be nice to kind of hear from your perspective, and I really want to kind of focus this on Ryan, Mitch, Meredith, Mary. What did you learn about them? Because I think telling that story about those individuals, what did you learn about all of them that maybe somebody that doesn't know Bloom Golf Partners needs to know about those individuals?
I think let's see. I mean, the first one that comes to mind right now is Ryan. You know, I have this phrase that I use all the time on photo shoots. If you feel like smiling, smile. If you don't feel like smiling, don't smile. Because the worst is when you don't feel like smiling and you're like, am I getting it right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And no, you're not getting it right. It's, you know, your brain and your heart and your body's telling you how you're feeling, and then you're trying to override it by doing something else, and it just comes out as like super awkward. So, yeah, and not the real deal. Ryan was definitely a little bit more I don't know if stoic's the right word, but he was just like, I don't know, like without sounding, I don't know how to describe him, because you asked me in that text afterwards, hey, what do you think of the team? I think I mentioned Ryan was like pointed.
Yeah.
Like he's very pointed, and he's kind of like, I have the feeling that small talk's not really his thing. I have the feeling that he likes to talk about, you know, things that matter, things that are important, priorities. I see him as a prioritization like type of person, and then he just goes right into it, you know. Mitch was funny because I think he was probably the most nervous out of everybody to go into the photo shoot, but he was also the most grateful from the experience and like how those photographs came across. So I kind of sense that he's more of a feeler, you know, like he might be the type of personality that like when everyone's having a good time in the room, he's having the most fun, you know. And then Mary's very detail oriented. She's definitely a planner, which I am as well. So we worked together really well. I said, hey, let's meet at the fireplace and talk about kind of the game plan for the day, that type of thing. But you know, once she got into it and she kind of got past the planning and the details of a shoot like this, she was just in heaven. She was having a great time. You know, she had like multiple outfits and, you know, looking all stylish and like all that type of thing. And yeah, I mean, she just, the sense that I got for her too is I think she has like a sense of pride for being the coordinator for a shoot like this. And yeah, it's one of those, as a planner, you put a lot of thought into it, just being very thoughtful and intentional. And then when that comes to light, when that comes to fruition, like that's the payout, you know? So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Mary, as she listens to this, is laughing. She is also somewhat of a part-time planner for me, you know, and keeping things straight within the company. I create a lot of chaos, and as we like to talk internally, it's like a whirlwind week to week. And she's absolutely takes a tremendous amount of pride in that. And I think this was something that she has been talking about for a while, of like getting like true photos, you know, team photos, things of that. So yeah, I think for her to see that project kind of come to fruition, and I can see it this morning, you know, as she was talking about the photos and sharing with it like a real sense of pride. So, and then lastly, the life of the party, as we all know, is Meredith.
Yeah, I
And
feel
you get
like
a chance to
Meredith.
interact with her.
I feel like Meredith could host a radio show. Like she has that
Yeah.
personality that she's just like, she's really upbeat. She has a really good laugh. You know, she like, she does. She has a really good laugh. You know, she's just, you know, some people laugh with like their whole face and body. It's like the whole thing. You know what I mean? And yeah, and at the same time, like keeping track of detail too. You know, I think she's the type of individual that can shift gears between being like silly and fun, and then being able to be like, oh, and by the way, you know, we have this calendar appointment on Tuesday, and I think that we should really dig into that. But she seems like the type of person that has fun at her job. You know, being a marketing individual, you know, marketing to me is really fun. So I think, you know, she's in that same lane.
Yeah, man, you hit nail the coffin on that one. Meredith is stay tuned on the radio host, because we are talking about coming out with another slight variation of the podcast where Meredith and Mary are kind of taking the lead on that. But yeah, you hit it to, she can flip the switch on pretty quick. And you know, again, back same thing to Mary, kind of keeps me organized when I get out in left field on different ideas and kind of reels me back in. So I mean, the fantastic additions to the team. And I want to make sure I throw a shout out to Sam. Sam wasn't able to make it there to our in-person team meeting. And Sam has been additionally a great resource and a great person to add to the team. We all kind of laugh, and you probably see this in your travels is we all we all are going through various similar stages in our lives with kids, going to school, professionally, personally. So it's nice to share. It's nice to share something like that. And while it was a team effort, it was a team project. I think individually, each of them all got a chance to show who their personalities were. So we really appreciate you spending some time with us in the sweetest place on earth, Hershey, PA, for our in-person meeting.
Yeah, we got to get out of the
All
Hershey
right,
Country Club. I've yet to play there, so that'll be a fun round.
Well, I think Josh could set us up here for a nice little like summer event next year. I mean, come on, we know somebody. He can help us out.
Yeah, definitely. Josh, if you're listening right now, we'll be in touch soon.
Yeah, exactly. We want first tea off in the morning. We want lunch and cigars, the whole shebang. So, shifting gears, I like to have a little bit of a fun segment before we close up. We like to call this segment the chip shots. So, if you had to pick your favorite foursome, who would it be with, and where would you be playing at?
Oh man, favorite foursome. First one would be my stepdad. Because I played golf with him when I was in high school. He's the one that really introduced me to the sport. My uncle, great golfer. He was like, club champion like multiple times and stuff like that. I remember him taking me to the driving range when I was little, and he was just kind of like, he didn't have the patience for a 7-year-old, just like, shanking golf balls off to the side. But my stepdad, really fun guy on the golf course. He wasn't the best golfer, but we always had a good time when we were out with him. I would say Akshay Bhatia. Akshay Bhatia is definitely my favorite golfer of the moment right now. I think he's been finishing in like the top 15 consistently. I also used to live in North Carolina, about 10, 15 minutes from where he grew up, or at least, started his golf career. And I love his swing. His swing is incredible. Ooh, and the fourth one, oh gosh, can I say Jesus? Jesus would. How far? What's that?
You're the second person that's come on the podcast that said Jesus. You want to know a funny story? Weeks later, somebody heard the podcast and they dressed up as Jesus to play in their foursome.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know. I imagine Jesus has a really smooth swing. Probably he's one of those guys that drives the ball like 280, 290, but like looks effortless. Really good hands and really smooth putting stroke.
Yeah, always gets the breaks, always gets the right members bounce.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I think he knows a guy. He knows one or two people that could help him. So, where would you play at?
Oh man. There's gosh. I mean, Jupiter kind of comes to mind, like any of the courses in Jupiter. It's funny because with like sim golf and stuff like that, you get the experience, or the experience of playing like Pebble Beach, or Augusta's kind of hard to come by in sim golf. But to be honest with you, there's a course in Western Maryland close to my hometown. I'm originally from Deep Creek Lake, which is like a resort area south of Pittsburgh. We get a lot of visitors from Pittsburgh, DC, Baltimore. I kind of call it like the Poconos of Maryland. There's a big 72-mile perimeter lake. There's a ski resort. Absolutely fantastic place to grow up. And there's this new golf course there called 1,000 Acres. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I'm familiar with it.
Oh, yeah. Really good. I mean, the fairway is like carpet. It's such a new course that like the back nine is not even visible on 18 birdies. Like that's how new it is. And it's a hidden gem. I think the TikTokers have been picking up on it because I've seen a couple golf course review like TikTok accounts that have picked up on it, and they're already starting to name it one of the top 10 public courses in the state of Maryland. And not to mention, back in Western Maryland, we have this festival called Autumn Glory, which is one of the top 10 fall festivals in the country. And we literally celebrate the turning of the leaves up in the mountains. And that course, I can only imagine. I haven't had the chance to play there in the fall, but I feel like, once the leaves turn in the autumn, that's kind of the icing on the cake there. Not only is it great golf, but just, the visuals, the scenery, absolutely fantastic.
Favorite halfway house food you've had at a club?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Um, favorite halfway house food. I'm not really a hot dog guy, uh, which I know is kind of sacrilegious. Um, gosh, wasn't it? When I was in Chicago, I had a food shootout in Chicago, and what's it called? Cog Hill, I think is the name of it.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I played at Cog Hill. I was out there traveling on my own, doing the solo thing, and I think I had one day break after my shoot, and I was obsessively looking for like golf courses in the area just to like take the opportunity to play somewhere new. And ended up going to Cog Hill by myself, played with like a family threesome. And then when we went to the halfway house there, it was cool because like the halfway house was not the clubhouse because they had multiple courses there. So you had this kind of like snack shack off of, between 9 and 10. And it was really nice because the food that they had there, it wasn't, they had hot dogs, but they're big hot dogs, they had pulled pork barbecue sandwiches. They had a crock pot full of soup, a lot of really good comfort food. And that's really what I'm looking for. It's like, I don't need anything like incredibly fancy, but you think about Augusta and they're famous for their pimento cheese sandwiches. And that's like, anything that feels like home is good.
Yeah. I'm usually the hot dog guy at the halfway house, but I always like, some places have some pretty unique sandwiches that they craft up. So I like that. All right. Last question for you is favorite Josh Saunders moment from the women's.
Man. From the Women's US Open. Okay.
Yeah. Tech days. So we'll keep this very PG.
I can do two. My favorite college moment with Josh is playing Tiger Woods on PlayStation at his apartment. That was like a thing. We would get in there and it would get very competitive. There's a lot of trash talking that was happening and stuff like that. So that's my college Josh golf moment. From the Women's US Open, the thing that sticks out in my mind was the first day filming him talking to his volunteers. And it's 4:00 in the morning. People have been working all week for advanced week. So, you can just see the looks on their faces. Like, here we go. Like we're getting ready to do this another day. And the first thing Josh says, after saying good morning is he pauses and he says, get comfortable with yourselves. Like that was his first instruction. It wasn't, hey, red team's going here, white team's going here, blue team's going here. It wasn't about like the task that was about to be done. It was like this kind of unifying statement that said, hey, I acknowledge that we're all experiencing nerves right now because of the magnitude of this event, but just take a moment and get comfortable with yourself. And I thought that was really cool because it brought everybody to center. And then once they're all at center, they could just take it from there.
Love it. If people want to find you, where can they find you and learn more about what you're up to?
You can go to my website. It's karlogesner.com. I will advise you at this moment in time, it's a lot of other portfolio. So if you're specifically looking for golf stuff, you can go to my Instagram. It's Golf Club Visuals, just spelled exactly the way it sounds. You'll see not only my professional work, but you'll also see me I have fun making reels and stuff like that. And I think the one reel that I have is like golf thoughts, where I'm lining up at the 18th hole at a local course and I'm like, hey, fairway slopes left to right. We want to aim this to the left side of the fairway. And then in the middle of my backswing, the last thought I have is don't go too far left. And then I just pull it into the trees. But it's, having fun with stuff like that, just kind of capturing moments that we all experience. But yeah, Golf Club Visuals on Instagram. Check it out.
Yeah, awesome. Well, and again, just a shout out as for somebody who is not super photogenic, I enjoyed it. We had a blast and look forward to working with you, in the future iterations of Bloom Golf Partners. As we all evolve, we'll be excited to connect with you again and appreciate all the time you spent with us. It was a fun few days and, a great memory for our team. So thanks for coming on the podcast, and make sure everybody that's listening, check out Karlo. It's fantastic.
Hey, one last thing. I'm going to put my cell phone number out there.
Go for it.
If anybody wants to shoot me a text and just say hi, or just like hop on a, text me. We'll set up a little Zoom call or something like that. And then, I want to learn about your club and what makes you guys tick, and we can figure out how to best work together. But that cell phone number is 951-565-6686. Hit me up. I promise I'll get back to you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Leadership on the Links. For more leadership insights and industry expertise, connect with us at bloomgolfpartners.com or follow us on social media sites LinkedIn and Instagram. If you enjoyed this episode of Leadership on the Links, we'd be thrilled if you'd leave a review or share it with someone who you know would get some value. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to stay updated. Thanks for joining us today.